This used to be a bustling shopping center, but 3 years back, it shut down. Plans to refurbish it were scrapped. Now it's being converted into a warehouse. And that's a familiar story across India's financial capital, where most malls are struggling to stay afloat. We tried getting inside some of them to take a look for ourselves, but none of them gave us permission to film. It's not only Mumbai where shopping centers are shutting down, but it's a problem across India's big cities. Nearly 25 malls, including this one, have shut down in the last 2 years. And many of those that are still operational are finding it difficult to survive. Rasesh Kanakia runs several malls, but he admits that investors like him who entered the business in the early 2000s, when the concept had just taken off in India, got their initial strategy wrong.
I think we made a mistake by selling half of the mall or 70% of the mall, we sold it to a different owners. And that was our biggest mistake, because of that we could not market mall very well. We could not had a control on a mix of retailers in the mall, and the maintenance was not good or not able to happen the way it should have been happened.
Not surprisingly, the struggles of existing ventures has led to a sharp drop in the number of new malls opening, and that's hurting brands, both international and domestic, that are operating in India and want to get access to more customers.
I think we have a extremely big ready audience waiting for Hamleys, the store that we are currently talking in Hyderabad city. Okay, and I don't have a spot in Hyderabad. I don't have one in Hyderabad today. I don't have one in Calcutta today. I'm talking on the bigger cities. Once you start talking on the smaller cities, of course, I can go on and on. And it does, in a sense, put a cap on how fast you can grow and how you can acquire new customers.
And the explosion of online shopping over the last 2 years is making life even tougher for the malls. There's been a huge surge in e-retailers selling products at discounts which brick and mortar stores can't match. And so, experts predict malls will continue to suffer in the near term.
We are in a consolidation phase as far as organized retailing through malls and shopping centers or high streets is concerned. Now that will continue to happen at least for next couple of years, and in that period most of these malls will have a tough time. Only the ones which are performing well will survive. Many others will still have to see a closure. After say about 4 or 5 years, only the fittest will survive. They will be the one who will give an experience to the consumers to keep coming back to the malls.
For now, mall operators are experimenting with new formats and business models. With India's middle class growing and disposable incomes rising, there's still a big opportunity. An opportunity that they're desperate to grab.
Samir Hashmi reporting there. Well, one brand that needs shopping malls to do well is Gap, the US fashion chain that opened its first store in India this week. But with rivals like Mango, Zara and Marks & Spencer already well established, why has it taken them so long? Shalu Yadav met the head of Gap's India operation, Oliver K.
I don't think we're late at all, actually. I think that it's taken time to find the right partner, and Gap have found that in Arvind, who are an incredibly experienced retailer out in the marketplace, number one. But secondly, we're not too late because we've opened now, but there are many other competitors of ours who haven't yet actually entered the market. So H&M haven't entered, Uniqlo, Topshop, just to name a few. So we've believe that opening now is absolutely the right time for our Indian consumer.
But why was it so hard for you to find a partner in India, considering India is a country with huge opportunities and it's a big market for a brand that's already known in India?
I don't think it's been hard. It's just about finding the right partner who we believe has the right relationships with the malls, has the right financial backgrounds in order to actually take a brand like Gap and expand it throughout the country.
But many of India's shopping malls are struggling. Dozens have closed down in the past couple of years. Does that not worry you, that you may not have locations to open your stores?
It doesn't worry me because we are working with some of the top malls in India. And we know that they want us as much as we want them, and one of the advantages of going with Arvind is because Arvind has such a great relationship with some of the top 10, top 20 malls in India that we felt comfortable to open with them, where we knew that they could then secure the right space and the right store sizes for Gap.
You plan to open about 40 stores in India, and you say that mostly they'll be in big cities like Delhi, Mumbai and Bangalore. But some of the retailers say that it's actually in tier 2 and 3 cities which are not very well served, but there's a lot of hunger for big brands there. So why ignore them?
We're not ignoring those markets. I think naturally any international retailer will be looking at the tier 1 cities to begin with, but certainly part of our 5-year strategy would be to look also at tier 2 and tier 3 cities. But at the moment, having just opened our first store, I'm not going to commit of exactly which 2 or 3 tier cities we're going to be opening in.
Some of the foreign fashion retailers like Topshop and Dorothy Perkins have taken the online route to enter India because the e-commerce business here is flourishing. Did you think about that?
We will definitely be launching our e-commerce ourselves in the next few years, but at the moment, just for the time being, we're just concentrating on opening our stores around the country.
Since the new government came to power just over a year ago, the sentiment about India and its economy has been quite positive. Does that have anything to do with coming to India now?
The fact that Modi obviously came into government just over a year ago hasn't been a contributing factor. Discussions between Arvind and Gap started around 4 or 5 years ago in terms of when they were going to come into the market, when the contract was going to be signed, when we were going to open the first store. During that time, naturally the government's changed. However, it wasn't one of our contributing factors as to why we've now opened.
You've been manufacturing in India for a long time now, and now that you're actually selling in the domestic market, does that mean more production in India?
We source globally, so as a franchise partnership, we look at sourcing product across the whole world from Gap Inc. in New York. So some of our collection comes from India, but it also comes from all over the world. The collection that we're seeing here today in Delhi is exactly the same as our customers would get in Dubai, in London and New York.
Oliver Kay of Gap India speaking to Shalu Yadav there. Staying with retail now.